Hopefully you guys can relate that you might have some like Leroy Jenkins in your team.
All right, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
That just like sees something that they want, and regardless of what is going on in game, they're gonna go for that. Okay. My very first tip for you guys to make sure that you are not that guy, the problem in your D&D group, is be on time. Okay. This is what he says in the movie. Gandalf is like, a wizard is never late, right? But you're not Gandalf, right? Don't be late to the time that you say your group is going to get together. A lot of you have cell phones, right? If you know you're going to be late, text the group like 20 minutes before, 30 minutes before. That's plenty of time. Do not wait for 20 minutes after you were supposed to start, right? To let them know, hey, I'm not coming, or hey, wait up for me. It's better to say something early on that, hey, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. Can you guys please wait for me? Cool. That's a lot better than trying to go back. I like to describe it as watching an episode or a movie, like rewinding the movie. Like you're 20 minutes in and finally somebody, say your girlfriend comes in or a friend comes in like, hey, what's been happening? Like, well, now we got to kind of go back and pause the action, right? It's just not cool in general. So don't be Gandalf. You can't be Gandalf because there's only one. That's the first one. Okay. So the second tip that I have for you guys is know your character abilities and spells. And for the DM, that means prep, right? Make sure you're prepping before getting onto the game, right? Before you have your players over. And I did the meme right from Game of Thrones, prepare yourself, winter is coming, right? You should be taking the Ned Stark approach that even though it took 8 seasons for winter to finally come, right? You should be prepared for that session. And obviously I feel there's a few things and probably some other things I haven't thought about that are kind of exceptions, but in general, say, for example, you're playing a barbarian and you don't know how rage works.
And I would like to rage!
If you're new to the game, rage kind of like boosts you up in strength. You can do more damage. It's a good ability, right, for barbarian. But say that you forget how to use it. If you're a new player, there's some slack, right? For new players, there is slack, and hopefully you have a friendly environment. We're here to help you out. But if say you've been playing for over a year, it's not your first rodeo, and it's your first time playing barbarian though, there's different expectations, right? So it's good to be familiar with your abilities and spells, right? Know your spells. And the other thing that I wrote down here, I have some notes here for myself. I wrote down, avoid leveling up your character before the game. Okay. I'm guilty of it, doing it like once or twice, but I remember having a player who would do that every single time. There was no way that the new abilities that you just got and the spells that you just chose, like you're going to know them off the bat. It's better to decide that ahead of time so it goes smoother in game, and you're more likely to actually use it than forget it. Especially say that you're a cleric. Let's pick on the clerics, right? And they're looking for you to possibly heal. Maybe you're a life cleric, and if you aren't familiar with all the brand new spells or new ability, you aren't performing to the best of your abilities, so you're letting that party down. The only exception I could really thought of was more from a personal exception. I believe we were like level 9, level 10, and my paladin just died, right? So I was playing a paladin like fighter, and he died, and I was like, okay, well, the party needs some healing. I'm going to create a level 10 cleric for the party. And this was my first time playing cleric. I would say, even though like I felt like kind of experienced, it was hard for me to play a cleric for the very first time, starting at level 10 and trying to keep track of all the abilities and all the spells of what I could do. I managed, but there are certain exceptions, right? Being a new player, let's help you out. Playing a class for the first time, definitely, right? But there is a level of expectation still for you to do your part, because hopefully everyone else in your party is doing the same thing, okay? Let's keep going, okay? So the third tip I have for you guys on how to avoid being that problem player in your group, I just call this as, it's not all about you. Don't hog the light. So that's the title for this section. And I really like this little meme. It's like, it's all about help me change my mind. I get it that you want to play D&D and you want to do cool stuff and you want to go straight after like the magic items or the loots, this and that, like, or, you know, like, I'm the best and I'm going to save the princess and I need this sword because it's going to boost up my attack. Like, and you just steal the limelight in all aspects of the whole game, where it's just like 2 hours just on your character and everybody else is just waiting, right? Don't be that guy. So what I recommend is get others involved. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just go, hey, character name, right? Your buddy in the game. Have you looked over there for a trapdoor? Hey, can you help me out with setting up the tent, right? If you're really role playing extensively, maybe setting up a camp, or just be like above table level, talk to maybe the bard or somebody like warlock with a lot of charisma. Hey, you think you can help me get a discount with this sword from the vendor? Cool. You know, above table level or however you want to do it. Now you're getting other players involved. An example I gave earlier to someone was maybe they have animal handling as a proficiency. Ask them, hey, can you train that dog, right? Just get them involved in one way or another. Hopefully it helps. And we'll go over the story a little bit later, but there was somebody who was saying, hey, I got a lot of shy players and I feel like I'm hogging up the limelight. And what I recommend for those who feel like they're really talkative and maybe somebody else in their party is not, go ahead and create a background story with like the most shy person in your group with the less vocal person in your group. And you guys can be twins, or you met. I remember me and Steven, my buddy, he's not shy at all, but we just say, hey, we met in prison. And just create some sort of story. It's going to allow you to be more interactive during role playing, essentially. So do that with those shy people, those less vocal players, because that's going to raise the activity of the whole group. On the DM side, right, it's not all about your own rules. It's not about the things that you want to do. It's about making sure the players are having fun as well. So hopefully you guys discuss session 0. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but really keep in mind what the other players want. Tip number 4, again, more player orientated than DM, is don't always make rash decisions. Consider what your group wants to do in game. I made this meme here is to wait to see if it's safe. No, I don't think I will. Right? Hopefully you guys can relate that you might have some like Leroy Jenkins in your team that just like sees something that they want, and regardless of what is going on in game, they're gonna go for that. Okay. Confused Dragon, you said, oh god, I had that guy related to number 4 at least a bit. Yes. So that's the biggest thing, is really consider what your teammates, I want to say teammates, right? Because it's your friends. Most likely you're playing with friends. If you're not playing with friends, then you want to be even more respectful and be thinking about the ground rules, right? But if you're all focused on trying to save the king, right, and you decide to go to the king's vault and steal the jewel that's going to destroy the kingdom, because it's a jewel that just destroys the kingdom if anybody touches it, then you're like messing with everybody else in your group, especially if that's where your DM is leading the breadcrumbs towards, right? The DM is telling you, hey, like, we got to make sure that this jewel is really safe. Don't be touching it. Like, your guys are going to be handsomely rewarded. And you just got that guy, but I need this jewel for myself. Okay. So definitely don't just go after your things. Be considering of what is happening in the game and what your plans want. And let me read this real quick here from you, Confused Dragon. It was the first time I ever played D&D, and our dragonborn monk decided to piss off a ghost woman by burning her house down, and she possessed the fire and turned to a 6-foot fire elemental. Yikes. Yeah, that would be scary. First of, ghosts are, generally a little tougher. It depends on what level you guys were at, but yeah, you mess around and find out, right? Mess around and find out is a lot what a lot of DMs do. To kind of control the situation when things get out of line. So I made another note here. I should expand on it. I put metagaming. I don't remember why I put metagaming onto this. I think you can see how like knowing the information outside of game can cause you to make certain decisions in game. And if you're metagaming, then you're disrupting others as well outside of the table. Okay, but we'll move on since I don't remember everything I was going to say about metagaming. And so here is my 5th tip to avoid being that problem player in your D&D group. This one is communicate with your group outside of game. And lots can be solved outside of game. Okay. So this meme here that I created is, think of this like you, whoever is ready to play D&D. You walk into the game and really there might be some issues that have not been talked about for like months, right? There's the fire. There, you might have one person who's really trying to fix everything, but they're not firefighters, so they don't know how to control the issues. You always got that one person or two that just don't care. They're just gonna stand there and let things be, and that's fine, right? But it's not helping. And then I put here player that everyone hates, because sometimes there's some, like a friend of yours or somebody in the group that's just like always just being a bad player, being that guy. If you've never seen Community, essentially this guy Trevor, I believe is the character name, walks in and just this crazy mess. He's like, "Hey, I got pizza, guys." And there's a big old fire, and the guy over here on the floor is shot. Like what in the world just happened? So that's what it reminded me of. If you have a problem with something, talk to the person about it. Okay. That's the first thing you can do. Maybe something pops up and they don't like, if there's something that you don't like that's happening in the group, talk to that person first. Or the other option, if you're uncomfortable with those one-on-one interactions, get groups' opinions first on it before speaking with the person. So it's great to make sure that you're taking care of issues, because things can happen, where you might just be uncomfortable and whatnot. So that's the biggest thing I can really tell you is, communicate with your group outside of game, right? So it might be in the group chat, whatever the issues are, like, "Hey, I really want to play on Sundays. I can't meet on Saturdays." Say something so that it doesn't become this issue for you, and then later becomes like that gets bottled up, and later on becomes an issue for everyone, because you're getting frustrated so much that other players in your group are starting to become aware of this issue that is being ignored. And that's what I mean. Like, hey, don't let issues that or do you feel that might be potentially bad stand in the way? And like, if you're not sure, at least say something to get clarification. "Oh, that's nothing too big." Or maybe you get somebody that does understand, and go from there, right? And try to make the best judgments that you guys can. Okay. So this is my last 6th tip that I could come up with for avoiding being that player, being that problem in your D&D group, is be upfront and blunt during session 0, and make sure to compromise session 0. Okay. So I got this image here of the Joker, right? And we all know the Joker. He's all cynical and crazy, right? And probably not afraid to let you know what he's thinking, right? But a lot of the times, session 0, we treat it like fairyland. Like, "Oh yeah, are you open to this? Arachnophobia? Yep, no problem. Are you cool with blood? Yeah, that's cool." You know, like, and don't really dive into the deep end of what might be troublesome for you personally. Okay. Let's start with new players, because I think it's pretty simple. For new players, if you haven't done a session 0 before, think of past trauma. Okay. And I like this question. This goes directly for a new player here. So Confused Dragon says, "Okay, I'm not exactly sure what the session 0 mean. Is it just getting to know your group?" Yes and no. Okay. So session 0 is going to cover everything from timing to how you're going to play your game. Maybe you want to play a really silly game. Maybe you want to do that's a lot of jokes and use profanity or zero profanity. You guys decide on every single aspect of where you guys are cool with in your game. Maybe you're going to be more role playing heavy, so you're going to role play the hell out of everything, or you're going to be a little more combat focused, where it's like RP is fine, but I just really want to go to the combat. And you're going to decide how you want to run that game and move forward, right? It doesn't have to be 100% role playing, 100% combat all the time. There might be times where you just want to speed up combat, and maybe that's what your group decides on. So it's all about laying down the ground rules. So hopefully that kind of explain it. You're really getting into every single aspect of for people to expect. Yeah. So say that you're going to run Frost of the Frost Maiden. I'm totally wrong. The Icewind Dale campaign. I can't think of the actual title name, but in that campaign, you are in this big tundra of ice, right? And a lot of times it's going to be more survival focused, where if you don't have fire, your character could potentially freeze to death. If you know that you have some sort of past trauma on that of ice, or maybe you went hike Mount Everest and your grandfather sadly passed away on Mount Everest or something like that because of that type of situation, say that happened, then you want to bring something up, right? Love from France. Oh, thank you, Great Sword. Thank Thank you, Great Soul Chad. So whatever experience you have, you want to let the DM know, hey, I'm cool playing this campaign where we're in ice, but this happened. Like, can we tone down on the survival aspect of this campaign just a tad, right? And that's where that compromise comes in. Like be open to compromise, but be upfront and blunt of what you are comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. I wrote down here, so this is more for more experienced players who maybe already played a little bit more, but I wrote down, think of your past experiences you did not like or cross the line for you, and state them to your group of friends during session 0. Okay. A moment that I wish that I would have done better on session 0, me as a DM, was I was running a beginner campaign, and there's a section where 2 women and a boy been locked up for like a month or whatever. The players kill the guards who are like watching over these prisoners, and the first thing that they say, because I was playing, hey, what you say is what your character is saying type of rule. And everybody agreed to that rule. They say, hey, let's go ahead and like rape, right? And like me just even saying that word can trigger some people. So I apologize if you're getting triggered in any way, but they said that. And I was like, what in the world? I'm like, you guys serious about this? You guys are saying this. And for me, it was crossing the line. At the same time, I'm okay with adult type of material, right? Like rated R and whatnot. I told them, hey, they are now scared of you. I know they just saw you beat up the guards, and for a slim chance of hope they thought they were going to escape, that hope is gone now, right? And there was a female in the group, had to kind of just be like, no, sorry to, break that all up, right? But that was something that I wish as a DM, it was my first time DMing, but now like I know, like, hey, please be careful of what you say during game, and you might be comfortable with that, but somebody else not. Like, this is not allowed at my table, right? And if somebody wants to play a more mature game and everyone's on board with that, then okay, let's go ahead and do that, right? But if people want to play a more relaxed game, go ahead and relax, okay? Just to end on that note, hopefully not a bad note or anything like that, but hopefully that makes sense, right? Be upfront and blunt about session 0 whenever you guys have that before your first game, and be ready to compromise with everyone that is involved with that game, and really hopefully find that middle ground of what everyone, so everyone has a great experience. Okay. So my first tip again was be on time, right? You got a cell phone. If you know you're going to be late, like most times, like an hour or 2, 3, 4, 5 hours ahead of time. Don't wait until it's already the actual play time to say something. Like, that's messed up. Even from a DM side, right? Like, maybe you're going to be late and players are there waiting for you. The game's supposed to start at 4. Players waiting for you. Don't show up until like 5. Say something. So they're not there early. So that's number 1. Be on time. 2, know your character's abilities and spells. Otherwise, you're letting that group down. And as DM, make sure that you're doing your prep. Right? 3, it's not all about you, right? Don't hog the light in game, right? I know you want to upgrade your sword to that nice +3 with that new dragon ruby that you just found, but make sure that you try to involve others as much as you can throughout the game. Number 4, a little more player orientated. It just don't always be rash. Make rash decisions. Like, don't be Jenkins, right? Like Leroy Jenkins, right? Don't just dive in to whatever. Be considerate of what's happening in the actual story of your game, and really weigh out that option. Is this going to be a moment where my character is going to be fine, it's going to work out? Or am I doing this way too often that now I'm interrupting the flow of the game? Number 5, communicate with your group outside of the game. Okay. So if there is issues, have that group chat, so you guys can really work together in fixing little things. So instead of becoming this big situation where there's fire and somebody gets shot for some reason, it's better to work together and fix any issues that might pop up. And number 6 here is make sure be upfront and be blunt during session 0. And obviously don't be cussing like a sailor and be like, no, you listen to me. Like, be there to compromise, but be upfront of what is a go for you and what is a no for you. Okay? Go and no. Right?